Hi guys, today I'll be reading Double Trouble in Walla Walla, written by Andrew Clements and illustrated by Salvatore Murdocca. So, this is a really fun story, but you have to bear with me. There are a lot of silly words in here. It was an ordinary Monday morning in Walla Walla until Lulu raised her hand in class. Mrs. Bell, I feel like a nitwit. My homework is all higgledy-piggledy. Last night it was in tip-top shape, but now it's a big mishmash. Mrs. Bell said, Nitwit? Higgledy-piggledy? Mishmash? Lulu, stop that flip-flop chitter-chatter or you'll be in double trouble. Lulu said, but I'm not trying to flip-flop chit-chat. I just have an itty-bitty problem with my homework. Mrs. Bell scowled. All right for you, Lulu. If you are going to be shilly-shally and dilly-dally with all this fancy-schmancy yak-yak, then we'll just have to trot down to the principal's office. Mrs. Bell hurried Lulu down the hall, and they burst into the principal's office. Mr. Thomas said, What's all the hubbub about? Mrs. Bell said, Lulu's been trying to razzle-dazzle me with some kind of lippity-loppity jibber-jabber, and now I'm all helter-skelter myself. Mr. Thomas raised his eyebrows. Tut-tut, sounds like silly-willy hocus-pocus to me. Mrs. Bell's mouth dropped open. She pointed to the principal and said, Eka frika! Lulu's got your tongue all topsy-turvy, too. Now, don't get the jim-jams, Mrs. Bell. Let's give the nurse a yoo-hoo. Mr. Thomas picked up his phone and said, Mrs. Carter, I'm going to pitter-patter over to your office. Okie dokie? All three went across the hall to the nurse's office. Mr. Thomas said, Howdy doody, Mrs. Carter. We're a little wacko-wacko. Lulu's got us all talking the sing-song clap-trap like we're cuckoo. Mrs. Carter smiled at Lulu and said, Fiddle-faddle. Lulu and I are palsy-wowsies. She wouldn't try that kind of phony baloney tooty-fruity flim-flam. Lulu and her teacher and the principal stared at the nurse. Lulu said, Wowie-zowie. Mrs. Bell said, Jeepers creepers. And Mr. Thomas said, Holy moly, you're in the same hodgepodge we are. I better give the superintendent a jingle-jangle. Chop-chop. Wait one ding-dang tick-tock, shouted the nurse. If you chit-chat with the bigwig, then he'll yak-yak like Lulu, too. If we're not very, very hush-hush about this, there could be a mongo-mongo brain drain and everybody in Walla Walla will be talking like a herky-jerky ding-a-ling. Then the nurse turned to Lulu. Lulu, let's just get to the nitty-gritty. When did all this mumbo-jumbo start? Lulu gulped. She said, I was in English class. I had an itsy-bitsy problem with my homework, and then, zip-zap, Mrs. Bell was talking like this, and like this was a no-no. The nurse looked over the top of her glasses at Lulu. Something like this would not just happen willy-nilly. Now, Lulu, think extra, extra hard and tell me what you did yesterday. Well, said Lulu, it was really a humdrum day. I was practicing ballet in my tutu when my little brother Bobo asked me to play on the teeter-totter. We seesawed until Bobo slipped off and got a boo-boo and started to boo-hoo. Mama and Papa came running pell-mell, so I went inside and splish-splashed on the rub-a-dub-tub, and then hip-hopped into my cuddly-wuddly Betty-Betty. I said night-night to Mama and Papa and Bobo and fell asleep in a snip-snap. That's all I did. Honest. Mrs. Carter said, Lulu, it seems to me you've opened up a knock'em-sock'em wibble-wobble word warp. I usually don't believe in this kind of hoodoo bunko-junko, but if it was going to happen anywhere, it would probably happen right here in Walla Walla. Mrs. Bell said, Let's not quibble-quabble, Mrs. Carter. I'm getting the heebie-jeebies from all this razzmatazz. What can we do? We should say all the rootin'-tootin', crinkum-crankum, woolly-bully words we can think of. Maybe that will clear the air and close the warp. Worth a try? Asked Nurse Carter. Mr. Thomas said, Aye, aye. Mrs. Bell said, Let's do-si-do. And Lulu said, Uh-huh. Nurse Carter closed the door to her office. Then she turned around and said, Lulu, let's get this harum-scarum show on the road. Lulu stood right up and blurted out, Ticky-tacky, knick-knack, coochie-coochie-coo, hubba-hubba, roger-dodger, ooey-gooey-goo. Mrs. Carter cleared her throat and said, Hugger-mugger, hob-nob, pitter-patter, bon-bon, wishy-washy, squish-squash, handy-dandy, mish-mosh. Mr. Thomas closed his eyes and started slowly but picked up speed. Eensy-beensy, choo-choo, teeny-tiny, hurdy-gurdy, roly-poly, ragtag, hurly-burly, riff-raff, rumble-tumble, hip-hop, teeny-weeny, pop-top, namby-pamby, hippy-dippy, hoity-toity, hot-shot. And then Mrs. Bell stood up and took a deep breath. Put, put, vroom, vroom, honk, honk, zoom, zoom, zigzag, clank, clank, slam, bam, fender, bender, ringy, dingy, cling, clang, ring-a-ding, boing-a-boing, ring-a-ling, zing, zing, bing, bang, boom, never, never, wig, wom, turkey, lurkey, tom, tom, tootsie, wootsy, tittle, tattle, hee-dee, hee-hee. And then, without warning, words just flooded the air. Fuzzy wuzzy, fuddy duddy, loosey goosey, lovey dovey, kissy kissy, huggy huggy, rinka dinka doo, ga ga, rah rah, go go, so so, frou frou, goo goo, poo poo, woo woo, rinky dinky, arf arf, argy bargy, woof woof, boogie woogie, bow wow, super duper, pooper scooper, clippity clappity, hippity hoppity, clickety clackety, rickety dickety, blah blah blah, ba ba ba, ha ha ha. Clip, clop, drip, drop, click, clack, rick, rack, eager beaver, lucky ducky, comfy dumpy, fat cat, hee haw, tweet, tweet, chirp, chirp, cheep, cheep, cluck, cluck, quack, 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 yuck, yuck, yuck. Bo-so, yo-yo, heyday, mayday, hokey pokey, hanky panky, goody goody, yum yum, yummy yummy, yummy, tum tum, gimme gimme, gobble gobble, belly jelly, dum dum, looky looky. Voodoo, moo moo, poo poo, cling clang, yin yang, ching chang, wing ding, pow wow, kowtow, peg leg, jet set, shoulda woulda coulda, better hadda oughta, ship shape, sump pump, achy breaky doo dad, fi, my, rag bag, tie dye, beep beep, ho ho, paw paw, doo doo, roota toot, zoot zoot, looky lucky, local yokel, Georgie porgy, hunka munka, henny penny, humpty dumpty. And then suddenly, silence. Lulu, Mrs. Bell, and Mr. Thomas slumped into chairs, and Mrs. Carter flopped onto the cot against the wall. Was it over? No one dared speak. Lulu whispered, Mrs. Carter, may I please have a drink of water? Mrs. Carter sat up and said, Of course you may, dear. Mrs. Bell smiled weakly at the principal and said, You were magnificent, sir. Mr. Thomas perked up and smiled at everyone. He straightened his tie and he said, I think we've done it, people. Mrs. Carter sat down at her desk and went back to checking over her posture records. Mr. Thomas walked across the hall to his office and went back to the letter he was writing. Lulu followed Mrs. Bell down the hallway and soon had her English homework all straightened out. And after English, it was just an ordinary day in Walla Walla. Ta-ta, Lulu. Bye-bye, Mrs. Ding Dong. The end.